100% polyester. It's like wearing a headband with. All right. Well, it's good to be with you today, folks. And basically, Marianne and Rita gave me some things of questions that they had been hearing as frequently asked questions. So I thought, so I wrote those up, but there may be other questions, and you may need to review some of what we did, like at the very first time you ever laid eyes upon me. And that was a long time ago and a difficult meeting, so if you didn't retain a lot from it, you would be a very normal person, right? So I'm just gonna say, feel free to ask me questions about about this mission versus parish thing. Let me say first, just to remind you that Bishop Carr asked in May when we announced that Reverend Maria was departing, that she asked that St. George's discern in an expeditious fashion about whether to request mission status as opposed to parish, because at the time we did that, there was not a full complement of wardens or vestry.
Right.
And no ready prospects at that point. Subsequently, we've gotten what they described to me as a Band-Aid vestry, right? Which is lovely, and all but one of those people is ineligible to continue on a vestry by your bylaws, in terms of, how often one can redo, can re-up for terms. So the mission status thing is intended because instead of having to field a whole vestry and 2 wardens, you have support from the bishop, and usually a designated member of the bishop's staff to serve on that and help with some of the running of the parish. And you have a warden, a clerk, a treasurer, a member of the bishop's staff, and a clergy person, if you have a clergy person or another person, it could be. And that frees up a little more space for life in the parish to go on. All right. And that's why there are other parishes in the diocese that have gone to mission status, and that has been helpful for them in that way. Okay? But ask your questions, and I will do my best to answer them.
So during this period, if you do mission, can you still go look for a priest?
I'm sorry?
If you go to the mission status, are you still be able to go and look for a priest, full-time priest?
The full-time priest question is always the question of what's your financial needs?
Okay.
Can you afford a full-time priest?
But you can still look while.
Oh yeah, there's no different, okay, let me be clear. I'm the transition officer for the diocese, so every parish or mission gets treated the same, whether they are a mission or a parish that is in clergy transition. They get me walking the parish or mission through the recruitment process to look for a priest. Yes. And there are steps in that process that need to happen, but it does not, being a mission doesn't have anything to do with whether they have clergy or not.
So basically, So what are you losing, what are we losing that we have now if we go to mission?
Not as many people on this.
Well, that's administrative wise.
Yeah, you're losing, a burden of the amount of vestry members and wardens that you need,
So administrative.
right? You retain, and people wanna know about money, so let me tell you about money. You have your checking account, you have your savings account, you have your investment account. The investment account, if you're a mission, you can only make a withdraw from your investment account, which my understanding is that St. George's hasn't taken a withdrawal from the investment account in a long darn time. Multiples of years, right? So the money comes in from like the collection, it gets deposited in the bank for the savings of the checking, and the treasurer pays the bills and helps work with, makes the financial report, etc. That part does not change. But if you need to take a draw from your investment account, that requires approval of
The trustees.
the trustees.
Now, can the investment account be used for building maintenance?
For what?
Building maintenance, say we need a whole new furnace.
Well, and the thing, like if your furnace dies in January, that counts as an emergency need for repair, that doesn't have to be approved. That's an emergency need for repair. If there's a windstorm and half the roof blows off, that's an emergency need for repair. Okay? But if you decide you want to build a large garage on your land, that would require, and you're going to withdraw from the investment.
And that's gotta be okay.
Pardon?
That would have to be okay
That would have to be okay,
by someone else.
just for the investment account.
But
Now,
they don't control the designated funds.
the designated funds are designated. So,
I realize that, but what I'm saying, we have designated funds, among other things, for, a project to build some type of pavilion or facility. The fund is designated, but it's also been released by the designee to use for what we need to use it for, even though it sits in that fund.
that's a William question.
Yeah, okay.
I don't think that would require
I would assume that is under the purview of the vestry as we have it now. Or the
It would be
management
under,
committee,
if we
have one.
if you have a vestry now, which you do.
Yeah.
They have, the vestry now controls whether you take a draw on your investments. So that would not be the same, being a mission. And I'm thinking that for safety's, I don't want to say safety's sake, but I'm thinking just to be consistent, they might say, we know you've got these designated funds, just run it by us, at standing committee. It's your mission.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the other question that somebody asked, or one of the ones sent me, was a question about the title to the property. The building and ground title, all right? Right now, St. George's Church, the vestry of St. George's Church holds the title. And when you're a mission, the diocese holds the title. But let me be clear, the canons of the diocese and the canons of the Episcopal Church is, it may say St. George's controls the title of this property, but all property of any church or mission in the diocese is held in trust by the church for the diocese. So it's not like if you decide to become a Lutheran a week from Thursday, you can take this whole building and all these grounds and give it to the Lutherans. It belongs to the diocese ultimately. It's held in trust for the diocese. So although it's like, yeah, you have the piece of paper, and if you had to fight over it in court, it's in trust for the diocese. You don't own it any more than I do.
So it's really the same.
Oh, in terms of the actual way that it plays out, yes. And this is the fruit of all when Agnes, the Anglican Church in North America split off, and some of our other dioceses got into big wars about property. The canons were massaged to say, let's be clear, every parish property is in trust for the diocese. Non-negotiable.
However, the ability to, say, split off and sell part of the property, at this time, that responsibility is held by the vestry and the church.
Right.
St. George's Church proper.
Mhm.
If all of a sudden we change the mission, that process is all under the direction of the trustees with no.
No, it is under the executive committee
Doesn't say that.
discernment.
It says in your thing back and forth that they then control the title to the property.
They control the title to the property, but here's the rub is, you're expecting that the diocese wants your property.
No, I'm not
And
saying that.
the diocese just wants to get a hold of that title so we can steal your property away from you.
No, I'm not saying that.
The
But what I am
diocese doesn't
saying,
want your church,
what I am
or
saying,
your land.
what I am saying is at this point, that's all well and good. But 20 years down the road, if we were a mission and there was a disagreement there, the diocese would hold sway over any decision. As
Down the road.
through the trustees,
Well, let's-
as opposed, and
That's
we're looking at this,
affecting
we're looking at this whole situation as something that we're doing for the next 20, 30 years, not what we're doing for this.
Do I have the treasurer here?
No, she's not here.
No, she should be.
Let me be clear. Let me be clear.
Yeah.
You're not looking at 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we are.
And if you have looked at your trend lines on your numbers and your money,
And nothing.
you're not looking at 20 or 30 years.
I want you to go through these 2 years.
You're looking at, can you hang in there for 5 more years?
Yeah.
And that's not just, that's money and property. And can you muster a team of lay leaders to be responsible?
Can we muster a congregation?
Huh?
You need a bigger congregation too. That's what I mean, you gotta work on that too,
Right.
which we have been, and it hasn't turned out to.
And I mean, I had coffee with Patty, and he was telling me, because he knew a past director when y'all were in Charlotte.
Oh, yeah, that's a lot.
And when there was an eminent domain thing that the
Yeah.
state or the city or the county said, we need your land.
Yeah.
Y'all gotta move,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't know that. And he said, oh yeah, I heard about it after the fact. He says, because I knew the priest that was there then, and it was a big, it was a big disruption. And then they didn't gain as much land as they did, and the building is still there.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Just
Yeah,
for-
they went through the parking, yeah, they did.
They went through the
They
parking.
took some of the
Yeah.
property because they were building a new bridge. That's
Right,
why it was going
right.
up.
And so that's the kind of thing, there's no eminent domain clause in the Episcopal Church for, here's the thing. There have been parishes and missions that have closed in this diocese. And every time that's happened, years worth of time and effort by the diocese to provide financial and administrative assistance and help to stop closures from happening has happened. And the only thing in the canons of the Episcopal Church that say the diocese can shut you down is when the property is abandoned and nobody's meeting there. Then the standing committee can say, nobody's been meeting there for 3 years or 2 years. Nobody's walking through and making sure the property is secure. Nobody is doing these things. You know, we have a fiduciary responsibility to that property as the diocese to say, okay, we're gonna take stewardship of that. We'll make sure it's secure. Somebody will walk through there regularly to make sure nobody's breaking in or squatting there, or things like that. That's the only safety valve on that. But a lot of the parishes have gotten to the point where they can't pay their utility bills with the number of people they have and the financial resources they have. They've used all their investment money over the years. And, you know, they will say, you know, or people get to an age where they say, you know, the 3 members of the parish that are left or of this mission are all now in assisted living or skilled nursing and can't come to church, right? I mean, those are sad circumstances, but churches have a lifespan, parishes and missions have a lifespan,
That's right.
neighborhoods have a lifespan. You know, churches close because what was a residential area 50 years ago is now more an industrial area and nobody lives around there anymore, and the people have moved elsewhere. So that's kind of the way that works. I mean, yeah.
Can I explain, if we do stay as a parish, the bylaws that are stopping us from having a vestry can be voted on and changed in January at our annual meeting. Just to let people to know that that is possible.
I would have to look at your bylaws to see what your bylaw changes say, because sometimes they will say it has to be read and voted on at 2 consecutive annual meetings.
But it can
And
be
it doesn't,
changed. We can change our bylaws. It is possible.
it is possible to change bylaws, that is absolutely true.
I just
For
want
what
people to know.
purpose with the numbers you have and the fact that you haven't you've been able to muster a vestry until January. And all of the other people cannot re-up, and do they want to re-up?
I know, but I'm saying the bylaws, I want people to realize that the bylaws can be changed if they don't fit our parish now.
I believe it says you can have either
There has to be
a
an
vote of
annual
the
meeting.
vestry or the annual meeting, and you have to publish it and announce it.
Yeah.
And one meeting ahead of when you have the vote and announce it to the parish.
It's like changing the Constitution.
So
The last section of the bylaw.
Good luck.
no, the bylaws were just changed, so that's why they can be changed again. We have always.
So are you saying we changed in January,
Well,
that would, nothing would really happen until the next January, correct?
That's not the way you just explained.
no, you could, with a month,
If we let
You need a
everybody know.
vestry, you need vestry meeting, vestry meeting, not the annual meeting, the
Yes.
annual meeting.
it can either or.
We just wanted people to be aware.
And what the bylaws right now is because people have been in the vestry too long, that they can't.
That's what the bylaws say, yes.
Never had one until we read.
That's what can be changed.
What bylaws? Yes. Oh, excellent. That explains that. Very interesting.
And
Yes.
Stay on.
Way over.
there is, I believe the rules of the diocese or the canons of the church is that you have to have a certain number of people on a vestry and wardens elected
You need 2 wardens, and then you have to have, but vestry numbers can vary, depending on size of the congregation. That's true. And some parishes have gone to, like, they had 9 or 12 vestry members, and now they've gotten down to 6.
What kind of bylaws we're talking about?
Bylaws that we voted on at the last annual meeting to.
Such
And
as,
I've only
just
got
like,
there a year.
an example of one of the bylaws?
The terms of the vestry
Okay,
is what.
that kind of stuff.
And the size of the vestry.
All right, so it's mostly
Term limits.
administrative.
And then the term limits
I'm not sure.
of the vestry.
So that's the bylaws.
Those are in parish bylaws, that's absolutely right.
So even if you could change the bylaws, say, and change the term limits, would that change like
No,
for 2027? I don't think so.
no.
We have time. We don't have to rush, is what I'm saying. But I don't think New York State is gonna come knocking on our door in January and say we're not in compliance with the law.
No, New York isn't gonna do that.
They got better things to do.
They got better things to do.
For now.
And when I walked in here, in March, there were 2 wardens and 2 vestry members and 2 other in name only, one of whom shortly thereafter died. 1 warden resigned right away
Right.
and left a brand new warden who resigned within 2 months.
And where we going?
So people got nervous and stepped up to serve. And the description that they told me was, we're a Band-Aid vestry, just till January. That's what they told me.
I
And
resent that term, because I don't think we're a Band-Aid vestry, I think we're an active functioning vestry.
I'm only quoting what was
I
told
know.
to me, so
And I thought that was offensive, if nothing
Well,
else.
at least some people who said it clearly felt that they may have felt that way, so.
Maybe.
But I do have concerns about the number of renewed services of the same people, of volunteers doing lay leadership. Now, if you have in a mission, that you pick the people for a year,
there you go.
the warden, even the treasurer and the clerk could be yearly, although we usually say, if you've got a treasurer who knows how to do the books, try to keep them
happy.
right? Taking minutes and stuff like that, but then you get more rotation in the mission bin for the executive committee.
Which
So,
frees up enough people to be in search committee,
yeah, after you do the search,
because we're gonna have to have all these same people that have been recurring on vestry and
Yeah. we only
different
have so many
functions
people
will
to choose
also
from.
be all the people that will become a search committee.
and you have a sub-study to do. You've got some intensive congregational development work that needs to be done before the search committee is even constituted, because,
Question. So for our mission, are we less desirable then when, we're looking for a priest?
it's desirable, and that doesn't matter whether you're a mission or a parish. Part-time is less desirable because the baby boomers are mostly retiring, right? The people that are younger and looking for jobs will have a full-time job. And so if you're not willing to, share a person, and, maybe a person puts together 2 half-time positions so that they have a full-time position and they can support their
Oh, like,
family, that matters. But I've got parishes who, you know, looking for 2+ years. I mean, they've been posted for 2+ years. They've done all their search work, and they're looking for a half-time clergy person. They're not willing to share with anybody. They're not willing to, they're like, we tried that 30 years ago and it didn't work.
Well, we tried it a year ago.
Tried it too.
Obviously, it didn't work either. But we never did find a reason why. All we knew was that it was pulled out from under us.
For a mission,
The person, the clergy was not feeling safe and asked to be relieved. So
Nothing was ever shared with the vestry that I know of this feeling.
it was shared in the full report in the mutual ministry review with the vestry,
We are a bunch of scoundrels here.
based on their input.
Unsafe.
But by the time we did the mutual ministry review, I was no longer the warden. There was when she was hired. And there was never any concern brought to me, other than one incident that happened in the village in which she said she handled it and then wasn't worried about it.
Let's get back on topic.
So I'm unfortunately, I don't want to cast anything about the whole process.
Oh, you've already done that, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well,
You already done it.
I just don't think that we ever were apprised of what we could have done to help alleviate any of these issues.
But you know what, when a young new clergy, person is put in a parish as a first-time solo person in a part-time parish, and they get to a point and say, I can't do it anymore, I can't. No bishop is gonna say, oh, you just need to tough it out in there a little longer.
Sure.
No bishop is gonna do that.
Shouldn't have to work like that.
You know, there were other factors in the recruitment process that I was told about and I wasn't part of, that didn't meet the reality. And I can't blame a young priest who says, I'm newly ordained. I can't deal with this. I'm not gonna blame a new priest for that. I'm sorry.
No, I'm not saying that the person wasn't wrong. I'm just saying that we would have liked to have been able to help.
And sadly, sometimes a new person in a new job, the last thing they want to do is say,
Oh.
this ain't working for me, they're gonna hate me.
Hate me now.
I'm not gonna show my vulnerability here. I'm just gonna say, I can't do this. I mean,
It's that, you know, I was at all the meetings with her, and it just seemed like great. We were giving her good answers. She was giving us a lot of questions, and
Let's get back to our subject here.
I know, I'm just saying, it was
Oh,
such a shock. Yes. It was a really a hurtful shock.
yeah. Well, and I came to do the mutual ministry
Right.
review with like no idea what was going on. Truly. So I came in and I'm getting data from the wardens of the vestry at the meeting, and I'm hearing this and this. And I'm like, okay. Finally, at one point I just said, what's all this stuff about wounds? I mean, honestly, that's what I said. It's like, what is this about? I wasn't expecting this. But one of the things that caught my eye in the input that people gave was one of the people, not the clergy person, that I thought I think in retrospect, was revealing, and I don't know if it was like an intuitive recognition on this person's part, but the comment was, and this is pretty close to word for word, was, make this a parish that clergy will want to stay at.
There won't want to stay?
that
Oh,
clergy
will,
will want to stay at. And I'm like, and I'm like, I didn't probe it, like, to say, what do you mean by that? Because but it was, in retrospect now, I wonder, I'm like, what? There's at least an intuitive sense that something was going on, something was sensed there, and I don't know what. But it's like, oh,
I think that's a burden that we have moving forward. Whether we're a mission or a parish, in my mind, kind of doesn't really matter. What is probably the key thing is, can we have a priest and keep a priest? Because I think the health of this community going forward, mission or parish, depends a lot on whether or not we have a priest that is consistent and long-term with us, whether it's part-time or full-time or however that works. And I think it's hard for us to have confidence in that moving forward if we don't really know what it is that is wrong with us that causes priests to feel unsafe or to feel like they want to move on. And I think we need not just, well, there's wounds that need to be healed, but we need specifics. We need to know, what is it that isn't working here? And the only way we can move past that and heal that and correct that is if we know specifically what that is. You know, it's like giving a child in a classroom a test and you failed the test. And obviously because you didn't know the material, but now I'm not going to tell you what you did wrong. I'm just going to give you the test again. And then you're going to fail that one, and then I'm just going to give it to you again. But I'm never going to tell you what it is you got wrong and how to do it correctly. So I think that's a big part of all of this. And the mission versus parish is actually kind of a teeny tiny part of that.
That's right.
It's
well, at the time that that suggestion was made in May, you had one warden and
right.
two.
Right.
So it was, I mean, it really looked like they can't muster a leadership.
But I think one plays so much into the other. It's hard to muster more leadership and more people in the congregation and all of that if we don't have a priest, a consistent priest that we have confidence in that is going to be here and stay. And it takes time, that priest might start and it might still look like this for a year or two. It takes, it's gonna take time to build it back up again. That won't happen overnight or within a few months, for sure. But I'm not sure what hope we have if we don't get that kind of a person in place.
Like when Father Paul came here, he was kind of new and everything,
Father.
right?
Mhm.
Well, he's not in the stars.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he came in and actually,
You are,
everything was picked up when he was here. It was something about his energy and how he related with people, that actually we had more people coming in, and we had more people at church on Sunday, and he brought something, and that's what you're looking for. Someone to bring something, that spark something in you, get people to come again and think, yeah, this guy's good, or she's great, and he was good. We all really enjoyed the man, but then he went on because it's got to a bigger parish.
Yeah, I don't think there's one reason why priests are leaving. Each priest had their own reason.
Yeah, a little way we're doing.
I don't think it was us as a church.
No, I think so, yeah,
Each
because
one
we didn't
had their
change
own
at all,
reason
we
why
gotta
they
do,
left,
we used to,
but they
parish
still
didn't
left.
change. Okay, when Paul was there, no problem, and then he left, but the parish didn't change, you get a new priest, and you know what I mean? And, I don't know, the parish really didn't change that much after him. We were all together, and it was, it was doing well.
We had strong leaders.
Doing well, but then once he left, the parish didn't change, the people didn't change. It's just the people coming in and trying to get used to them, we're working together, you know what I'm saying, it's human nature.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that, I hope for you all is that you work on a congregational covenant of how you,
Want people,
how you are,
why you want to come here? This is our covenant, if you come here.
no, I did this in another place, they had a different thing,
All right,
but basically we had, listening sessions, people talked about what their experiences were, and then we talked about what does it look like to live in community as a parish or as a congregation. And what's the limit of what is acceptable within that community? That some communities, and I'm going out in the Midwest now, had trouble with somebody who, a couple of folks who they had anger management issues, shall we say. Yelling at each other across the table in vestry meeting
that doesn't work.
and screaming at each other. One of the senior warden and one of the vestry members, screaming at each other in the vestry meeting. And then the senior warden stomped out, and then he stomped back in. Vestry members sitting quietly during vestry meeting, but then as soon as the vestry meeting was over, there was a private clique of vestry members meeting in the parking lot, talking about everybody else on the vestry. And why do you believe they did this? And I can't believe they did that. And well, this shouldn't be this way. And she, so-and-so never does this. And they thought that was a perfectly acceptable
Way to do things.
way of being.
Don't we have minutes of those meetings or how we get before?
I honestly think that part of our problem is that we have been without priests for so long and taken over the administration of the church, that we're very strong in what we do. And it's hard for a new priest to come in and take over without having a lot of opposition, because we've done it this way for so long. It's hard to let go. I think that's the biggest problem we have.
Yeah, and the model of how to minister collaboratively as lay leaders and a clergy person, because a part-time clergy person, I'm working from a part-time framework for the time being. A part-time clergy person cannot be all things to all people and do everything and be the charismatic, loud leader that you think should walk through town and like the Pied Piper and bring, a bunch of people here on Sunday mornings, It's like that's, it's gotta be a learned thing of how to do this together. How do you complement each other? How to, how do you divide up the labor, right? Which things are the most important things that the lay leaders have to do, and which things are the most important thing that a part-time priest has to do.
So the whole reason that we're having this discussion around a mission in the parish is because of the size of the vestry. It just coincided with the fact that Maria left, but it's mainly about the size of the vestry.
It was mainly about, no, let's be clear, inadequate lay leadership numbers
And so
for what is required by the
that's
canons,
the main
the
issue.
canons of the Episcopal Church, the Diocese of Rochester, and the New York State Religious Appropriations Law. And admittedly, they're not tracking us with a little red light in Albany to say, oh, they don't have a full board.
So that is the issue.
But
That is the main issue.
But it was like, this was looking like, wait a minute, there's not enough people, there's not enough persons here doing the lay leadership here. And no wonder the lay leadership were feeling frazzled.
Right, because we were doing we still do multiple things,
Yeah.
I have a question.
Sure.
Back on the parish versus mission comparison.
Yeah.
You broke it down and on the back of the sheet, it says diocesan leadership support. And under the mission, you have regular support to executive committee and congregation by bishops, designee bishop, and diocesan staff. Under the parish, you have diocesan staff available for clergy, vestry, and parish support as needed. What's the difference between regular support and support as needed? And
Well, you have to have the bishop or the bishop's designee on your executive council, executive committee every time you meet.
So, what is this support is needed?
It's, if somebody's got conflict, or if you're having a bunch of troubles, or, you got a new bookkeeper who needs an orientation to how to keep the books, or you don't have an investment policy and you need to have an investment policy developed, Will's the one to do that. If you're, somebody's retired, your priest is retiring, you have to think about what's gonna look like for clergy, recruitment.
Well, whereas it's the bishop, is in the missions status, it would all be taken care of by this executive
Well, the
committee.
executive
Is that
committee
correct?
functions as an alternative to the vestry ordinance. You have one warden,
Right.
the clerk, the treasury person, the bishop, or the bishop's designee, usually the bishop's designee.
Right.
And maybe one other person, and those 5 people are the leadership structure of the day-to-day operations of the mission. Yeah. And different missions do different things. Like, they're not meeting every month necessarily, some meet quarterly. One I've been told that's very, very, very small, they meet once a year, but you didn't hear that from me. So that's kind of, for me as a priest, I want to see financial reports more frequently than that, but,
And who would be the designee from the diocese?
somebody from the bishop's staff. Will has been doing it for the current missions, because he does budget stuff.
If this is just me thinking,
Go ahead.
if we go as a mission for, can we put in a year, then can we go back to our?
Oh, yeah. There's nothing about this is irrevocable.
Okay.
If you were to say, yeah, we're gonna go to mission status, we'll do the, have an executive committee for a while, and 2 years from now, you say, okay, then you have to meet the criterion to be, a parish, which is financial independence and, average Sunday attendance, but you may already meet the average Sunday attendance thing for it. It wasn't the average Sunday attendance thing, it was your critical issue, it was your lay leadership, still the lay leadership position.
So while we're at that mission time, what is the diocese, what are they gonna do for us?
Nothing, we went-
Build us up?
we work the way we are now.
It's the same. I'm sorry, you're asking if you're a mission status,
Yeah, while
what is
we're in
the
the
diocese gonna do for you?
Yeah,
The diocese is going to be, the diocese is gonna be providing one of your main full-time leaders to run the place with the bishop's designee. At this point, you're already getting some grant funding. I can't say that that's definitely going to increase. That's not the way the grant process in the diocese works, but you would certainly be eligible for grants. And it may be that somebody helps you, helps the leadership group work on a grant proposal.
We have another 18 months on the present grant, because it was a 3 year.
And the criteria come out every year for the grant cycle. And they can change from year to year. If you get a 3-year grant, you get a 3-year grant, unlike the federal government. But but then sometimes there's a thing that says if you've got one of these grants that's 3-year grants, you can't apply for these other 1-year grants or something like that. Sometimes mutually exclusive, just in order to be able to spread out the grant money.
You still have to have all the people doing all their jobs for the church, either way. Just what?
The function, like the
Yeah, we're
cleaning
still
or,
functioning the same.
yeah, everything
Are we
functions the
still
same,
doing
like the
something
cleaning and
Put the
everything.
service together.
Oh, yeah.
That all stays the same.
Yeah,
Discuss.
yeah, no,
We're
yeah.
still doing.
We're still responsible for all that stuff, like we are now.
Right.
This is mostly a legislative change. That's what it is. Make it actually makes it easier on the
From the
church.
perspective of May, when it looked like there weren't enough eyes to do the administrative functions.
No, I know, this one.
That looked really important at that point.
So administrative wise, it'd be easier to our benefit to go to being a mission, because you don't need as many people running.
I mean, this was one of the things that, another parish that has gone from parish to mission status, their experience has been that going from parish to mission status, because they didn't have to muster a whole vestry and 2 wardens, and they had more support in terms of their budgeting and administrative processes from the diocese. That freed up a little more energy within their congregation
Yeah.
for people to do things like outreach and visibility in the community. That they've seen their numbers grow. I mean, not massively, but they have seen
Right
that
direction.
it was a benefit to them. They have found it to be a good experience for them. So,
Question.
yeah.
So we need some congregational development, sounds like.
Yeah.
How long does that take to get started and?
I am waiting to hear from, the wardens about scheduling this. I had said to them we wanted to start in September. But I needed to know, the problem is the facilitator that is interested in doing it is a priest who has a Sunday morning obligation. And so the question is, when might the congregation be willing to gather to do some of this work? If you met monthly for a certain number of months or something like that, when would that happen? That's the piece that I need to know in order to be able to do the matching.
What is the timeline for that? I mean, how long does it last? I mean, is it like a,
My guess at this point?
Yeah.
4 to 6 months,
Because until,
maybe 3 to 5. I don't know. I don't know yet, because that's the kind of thing that you get into the town meetings and people are doing their input, and then you have a better sense of what's coming up. And so that's a guess. I'm gonna be clear, that's a guess.
because that work has to be done before we search for another minister, correct?
Yes.
Is that roughly?
Yeah, that's why we put a steady person in here with Reverend Patty, so that, to get through that, to get at least a steady priestly presence, through that.
I think that speaks to the fact that we have to wait till September to be able to discern how to run congregational development. Speaks to the fact that it's summertime and we're in a rush. And I think that same thing speaks to the discernment on whether to become a mission or a parish. Is again under a time crunch that has come after a shock. And we have very few people attending other than this staunch group that's here now. And I personally think that this decision can be made in January at the annual meeting and petition to become a mission in 2027 rather than 2026.
That is a possibility.
And have
It
that
has to be,
decision be, the discernment be by over 6 months by the whole congregation rather than those who are aware and of presence at this time of year as opposed to in the fall when things normally pick up and membership becomes more attuned to what is going on.
may I speak now?
Now I'm finished.
The mission status thing, if you wish to ask for mission status, it must be approved by the diocesan convention.
Right.
Because of the numbers that you had in May, the bishop asked to do that within 3 months because it wasn't looking very positive about having sufficient lay leadership. Period. End of sentence. That was why the bishop asked that.
But now our things have changed, and so we
Now
don't
you
have to
have-
necessarily be bound by
And
that.
now you have a vestry until January. And the summer thing was about starting. I got pushed back about not wanting to start until the fall because of summer, because we should do this right away. It's important. So
Procrastinate.
it's like, okay,
We'll get to it.
I was obliged to convey to you what Bishop Carr asked me to convey to you, and I have conveyed it. You're not obliged to do anything about this. You can wait.
Is that gonna be any pressure by the diocese to make a decision?
It's your decision.
Okay, that's fine.
It's your decision.
We can make it whatever you want.
You can make it when you want. Not making a decision is making a decision. Then, if you don't make a decision about it and you decide not to go to mission states, we are gonna need to see a functioning, continuing vestry of the number that fits with your bylaws, or an appropriately changed bylaws according to the instructions for changing bylaws
So,
in your parish.
so we could become a missioner, stay a parish at any time. It doesn't have to be at the annual meeting.
I'm sorry?
Well, is there an annual meeting in September?
No, there's not.
Oh, there's not.
Your annual meeting isn't your annual meeting in January?
Okay,
Your
so,
annual meetings are in
so
January.
September was just the date that
The diocese,
The
diocese has to
convention
decide
is in
their approval.
October, and it would have to be brought to the diocesan
That was-
convention.
The 3 months was in order to be able to get it on the agenda for the October diocesan convention.
So it has to be decided at the convention?
The convention has to approve it.
Okay, so if we didn't do it at this convention, we have to do it the next year.
Sure.
Just another year.
It is.
And at that point, we would,
By then.
by January, if we were to make that decision, we would know whether we were in fact able to seat a vestry and wardens for the following year or not. And if not, then that would become easily apparent that we needed to go to being a mission.
Right.
But in
And
the
what
meantime,
happens-
if
And if
something,
you don't muster a vestry in January, then what happens until October
we
2027?
function out of compliance. While requesting to be a mission, just like we were this spring until we had a crisis and people stepped up.
Give it a time, things will work out. Give it time, things will work out.
We have to vote
Give it a lot to.
now,
rather than later, so that it can be
Put on the agenda.
put on the agenda for the diocesan convention in October.
What is the deadline?
That's at our best
for
use.
being put on the agenda?
I'm sorry.
Right.
What is the deadline for being put onto the agenda?
At this point, well, it was, a month ago.
Oh.
So that will, if you put forward, a request for mission status, we'll introduce it from the floor at convention.
Okay, so they've
To
already
ask
got,
convention,
they plan that far in advance.
Yeah,
for the convention. Okay.
there wasn't any way to do any, even, 3 months is short, but
Once you come back.
So.
the beginning of August is,
Just to
is
be clear, if you decide not to do anything, or to put the decision off until the annual meeting, and then we change the bylaws to accommodate our needs, to have, people re-up, on the vestry who have been here before, who've been on the vestry before. That takes us, from my calculation, into 2028. Because, you're just voting on it, in, January 2027. So, we're not gonna be able to vote at that point.
there is, if your bylaws say you could have a special meeting in the fall, and you announced it 30 days in advance, a special meeting about the bylaws change. I'd have to see the bylaws
Yes.
to know, I mean, you can,
I can be really.
do you have it as a file or you just have it?
I just.
But
No, not yet.
there is a possibility, depending on how your bylaws are, written, it's possible to have a special meeting late in the fall. So that you're
Conversation rolling.
reconfigured vestry numbers, wardens and vestry numbers could be voted on for January. Assuming that the bylaws are not in conflict with the diocesan canons. I'm assuming they're not.
I'm not sure what the minimum number according to the
I
diocese
don't
is.
think there is a minimum number.
But
I-
you still have to have at least 2 wardens and a vestry, or you have.
You would have to have 2 wardens and at least 3 vestry members, because it's 3-year terms. You'd have to have 1 per class for rotating, right?
Well, now it's 4, and we're still haven't figured out how that 4th one rotates in and out. In my mind, that odd person. And also the priest is a member of the vestry.
So again,
Whoever is priest in charge is a member of the vestry.
they're always ex officio with voice and vote. They're not a member of the vestry. They are ex officio.
Are there other parishes in this diocese that should change to mission?
I'm sorry.
Are there
Yes,
other
yes.
parishes in the diocese listed who should change to mission?
Yeah, the last one was, I think in 2023 or 24 was Sodas.
The little church.
No, not Sodas Point Chapel. Sodas, I'm gonna say St. James or St. John's in Sodas.
It's James.
Is it St. James? I have to Google it.
Because let's just have the money for the new windows.
Oh, okay, I've managed to, I've looked this up. I'm sorry. Can you text it to me?
Erin, can you make a copy of the bylaws for the vestry meeting?
Pardon?
Can you make a copy of the bylaws?
I guess we should have, don't we have them?
I don't know where they are.
Well,
Should be.
we had them published when we voted on them at the annual meeting.
Yeah,
Whether
so they're
anybody
in,
retained them or not.
are they in there?
Oh, right, retain the files, right?
And there are no books.
They're probably somewhere in the Google Drive.
They could be. Well, maybe we're in the. Dig them up. Reports and that kind of stuff.
Nothing else is great.
What is the huge drawback of becoming a mission versus a parish? It sounds like we're fighting to stay a parish, but I'm just wondering what is the.
I think it's hard to go back, once you're gone to a mission, there's more hoops to cross to get back.
That's not true.
I don't think so.
There's, you have to have a
A vestry, the same thing you do when
Well,
you
you
stay.
have a vestry, but you guys are telling me you got a vestry, so, you got this also done.
Yeah, it sounds like we have to have the financial, which if we don't have the financial, we shouldn't be going back to as a parish. And it sounds like we have to have the congregation,
There's
which right
no,
now we do, even though a lot of them are watching via Zoom. So then you have to have the full vestry board, which is what by then hopefully we've obtained. If we haven't, then we can't sustain parish anyways. I'm just trying to figure out why we're fighting so hard to stay as a parish. That's all.
Yeah, I don't agree with you.
I mean, honestly, you guys could benefit from having an executive committee that had some expertise
That's
from
what I
outside of your walls.
Yeah, I would agree.
From a financial perspective and from an administrative perspective and a long-term strategic planning perspective. That's my opinion, you may take it with as many grains of salt as you want, but,
And free up some people to do other things that are important around.
because everything else on mission versus parish have the same representation in the diocese, the same eligibility for grants, the same, you're not at any disadvantage in recruiting clergy other than just the part-time disadvantage that everybody who's looking for part-time clergy is looking for. So I was, yes, there weren't enough people in Ray. And the mission status provides some support that I think you could really benefit.
Okay,
That's my opinion.
so we're saying there's not any disadvantages to being a mission.
If you're looking at a parish that's been small and had some rough times, and the lay folks have been trying to hold everything together for several years and are tired, which I think is why the numbers on the board were low, right, on the vestry were low. Tired, or wore out to an extent.
I know that Kim and Doc are not here and they're very involved in this church, but they had something going on today. They were camping last weekend, and so they went to an Episcopal church near where they were camping, up near probably Niagara Falls area. And that church had just recently become a parish. It had been a mission they'd been a parish, they became a mission, went back to parish. And Kim was saying that they said it was really an advantage for them to go from a parish to mission status, to allow themselves to take care of themselves, and then they went back to parish status. Now, so she said it was really interesting to talk to them.
They went to mission and then they went back to.
They've just gone back to parish status now, but they had gone into mission status for a while because they became so small. And they were able to put some things in place so that they started working on growing their church a little bit now.
And
She said it wasn't a huge place, it was a small place like this. And
this is one of the fun things of the Episcopal Church. The canons and constitutions of the Western New York diocese could be different than ours, and so how that same comparison chart might look quite different for the Diocese of Western New York than it does for the Diocese of Rochester, because each diocese has their own constitutions and canons. They have to be in line with the Episcopal canons, but the Episcopal canons are broad enough.
they said it was in Orleans County, I don't know which diocese that's in, but.
Yeah, that's Western New York. Yeah, that's Western New York. So that's, yeah.
That's interesting.
Okay.
So to try and summarize what's been going on, because I have a pretty like outside perspective, I'm still quite new to everything, but I'm still trying to here and there. It seems the biggest hurdle St. George has been facing is just, I guess, a fear of change, I suppose. From what I've seen, it's like when we have a new priest, there's a bit of tension because things are different from what they were. When there's now the shock of now congregations are becoming lower, smaller, there's a fear of going from parish to mission. There's a fear of what are we going to control, how much is going to change, are we still going to be able to do what we do, are we going to listen to the land? Do we have trust and faith in the people higher up on the hierarchy to treat us with respect? Are we able to, I guess ultimately, do we have, for anyone new that comes in, whether it be priest or whatnot, even in vestry, is there going to be a trust that we'll be able to communicate openly, trust one another, that they can support us, we can support them? And I think ultimately, when I make decisions, I like to make decisions out of courage and not fear. I don't want to make a choice afraid of what could happen. I really want to have faith in our community that this system is here to help us, that we go forward. I'll be genuinely honest. Could we stay as a parish? Sure. I think in these sort of times, having a shock makes us pause, reflect, and commit. That it's really important for, like you can hear, like our church, this is a Band-Aid vestry, perhaps. But I think a lot of people, I can't speak for them personally, but I've seen that some people are willing to dig in their heels. I don't know how long it's gonna last. I definitely agree that there should be bylaws for tournaments, because having been on other board meetings for other groups, resentment builds, anxiety builds, tension builds, people get exhausted, frustrated very quickly. And it should be no one's job or responsibility to front that, because no one else has the courage to step up, or like, especially with the treasurer, as you said. When you only have one treasurer, they're gonna get very winded for a very thankless job. But I'm not here to sway one way or the other, but genuinely, whatever it be, I hope to courage, because it should be for hopes that either, whether we have faith in our congregation to be able to take accountability for what we've done, what we will do, what we have done, or at least with the courage that if we do become a mission, that we have courage and faith that the diocese will respect our wishes, they'll work with us and not against us. So either way, I want this to be a positive choice. That's just, thank you. Sorry.
It's nice to have a different set of ears hearing the conversation.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I agree with what he said.
So there's no real disadvantages to becoming a mission?
I think the biggest disadvantage genuinely is the fear of losing momentum. I think that's a big one. I think there's a fear that if we do become a mission, people become comfortable. A lot of people grew up and very exhausted working in the industry will finally say, you know what, thank goodness, we can offer responsibility, and it'll be very hard to re-up momentum to try and, if we feel like we were at that point. Because it's difficult. I feel like this is a really important point in our time. If we could just keep the momentum going and make everyone keep pushing, who's already in vestry, change the bylaws so that way people who've been working on vestry just keep working for the next, until God forbid something happens. And I don't think that should be, I mean, actually that's my opinion, I don't think we should be putting people in positions of vestry as a threat of losing control and fear. I hope that people who do vestry choose to do it because they want to see this place grow, that they genuinely do love their heart. This should be a fun job, because it's volunteer work, it's not a job. I mean, Reverend Maria, that was her job. She had no obligation outside of a paycheck and a love for her community, and if she felt it was unsafe for her, God bless her. She should be working at a place where she feels that she can thrive and help. And if this wasn't a good fit, that's understandable. But vestry should be a fun job. Because it's volunteer work. Sorry.
Not
I should apologize.
Not toting rocks.
Take that.
But
it does rock. And
I'm trying to remember what the quote was at one place, it's like, it wasn't here. It was, I must have been in another diocese that I said, where somebody said, you know, we've all done our time. We all did our term, you know, we did our sentences on the vestry. And, you know, ideally, it's not supposed to be a sentence. I mean, it's supposed to be spiritually rewarding. I mean, there should be a spiritual piece built into doing the work of serving on a vestry or on an executive committee, but it's like, this isn't just doing a business meeting.
Yeah, the reason for the terms is not because the person, you know, is not worthy, it's because you want new ideas. From people who have, you know, who've been in the parish, but not voicing their ideas. It isn't necessarily to say, well, you can't do this anymore because, you know, your ideas are all gone or whatever. So, people that would like, I think if they want a part of the opinions for the church, that they would want to be part of the vestry at some point.
How long is a vestry person and how long is a board person? 2 years? 3 years?
3 years on vestry, 2 years as a warden are the elected terms, and only 2 consecutive terms without a year off. Other than if you're a vestry person with, say, 5 years, and you can then still be elected warden. Because a warden has to have served as a vestry person at some point before they're eligible to be warden. So conceivably, you could be 7 years on the vestry that way.
And sometimes if you're appointed to fill somebody's term, if somebody had to resign, and then you get 2 full terms later. And the mission terms are yearly. I mean, I don't know that there's a thing about how many times you can re-up through that, but it rotates people through more,
Right.
and more regularly.
I still think we're missing a lot of people because it's so.
Oh, yeah, I
don't see any reason why we can't.
But I would feel better about waiting.
Because we have, we hang in, there's a lot of people that have cottages and they're gone all summer. So we're missing.
My thing about waiting until January is not that I'm against mission or for it, I just think we need more time to discern
Yeah.
which way to go with more input from more people.
That's why I asked about, so it could be brought from the floor if we made a decision in September.
right, but so here's the September, it has to go to diocesan council before it can go to, and that, there is no diocesan council meeting in October before convention. So that's why we had, that was, this was a calendar constraint, right? And a number constraint at the time. So, I hear you. So that's why we can't, it's sort of like, there is kind of for this October's diocesan convention, this is kind of it for the decision for now, if we want it to be this year.
Right.
And that's all.
And, I'm feeling, the people who aren't here, because they have a cottage or something, if the church is that important to them, then you change your vacation plans. I mean, it's not like you're when I go on vacation, I'm all the way in Central America, it's not like they can't just drive home and drive back, you know what I mean? And make that,
Humans tend not to do that, but I understand your, I hear your part.
right, it's like, so, this, not just the way you love it.
Correct.
Okay.
But I mean, I'm assuming it's gonna be there as an option
Of course.
in 27 as well.
Yeah, so the major
Um,
thing is missing.
So listen, here's what I need to know. Cause I had said I would come at 5 on Wednesday and do this again.
I would guess that if you were to
And I'm not, does that make sense now, or do you think it doesn't make sense now?
I would think that if you were able to come an hour before the vestry meeting, that should be sufficient time for anybody that hasn't been here today to come and ask you, to come and meet you and ask some questions.
Well, I'm not staying for the vestry meeting.
Right, but the meeting is scheduled at 6:30.
Patty mentioned when we met with them last week, you were going to bring
Come on
him
by.
and take him back.
I'm sorry,
It was that you were gonna come at 5 o'clock.
I was gonna-
Or,
I was gonna come at 5, and I was gonna bring Patty with me. And I don't know what I arranged with him, if I was gonna take him home, in which case I'll just chill, in my car.
Really?
Well, where does he live?
Down in East Hampton, and it's like this really easy for you to take. I don't forget.
We have been announcing and put in the newsletter and so on at
It's-
5 o'clock.
If I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it at 5, I'm not gonna change it, but so, okay, I will come at 5, and I'll bring Patty with me.
And we'll bring subs and pizza.
I want pizza,
Okay.
I don't need pizza,
I'm serious.
but, you know, it's fine,
We could bring something
it's fine.
to be able to eat something before the vestry meeting and after your session, so we could kind of tie it together in between.
I may bring my dog and walk him outside.
Last note, there are cards out there, if you have an opinion, something you want to tell the vestry, please mark it on the card and put it in the box. I'm going to take it today, collate everything, so when we have the vestry meeting, the vestry will know what everybody's opinion is. So please do that if you have a moment. Okay.
And I'll see you on, whatever day, Wednesday.
Yeah. Thank you very much. This was very informative, very helpful.
I'm actually